Mindset Shift Audiobooks, Leaving Survival Mode, The Journey from Scarcity to Safety to Abundance. Introduction. You're operating from survival mode, and you don't even realize it. You think you're building, you think you're growing, you think you're making strategic decisions, but you're not. You're surviving. And survival mode is not the same as building. Survival mode is reactive. It's fear-based, it's short-term, and until you leave survival mode, you can't build sustainably, you can't think strategically, you can't create from abundance, because survival mode keeps you trapped. Trapped in scarcity, trapped in fear, trapped in the constant anxiety that you're not safe. And that anxiety, that drives every decision you make. You say yes to clients who aren't aligned because you need the money. You overwork because you're afraid to slow down. You can't rest because rest feels dangerous. You undercharge because you're afraid no one will pay more. You hoard knowledge because you're afraid of competition. You can't celebrate because you're always scanning for the next threat. This is survival mode, and it's exhausting. But here's the truth. Survival mode was necessary once. When you were actually in survival, when resources were scarce, when safety was uncertain. But you're not there anymore. You're safe now, or safe enough. But your nervous system hasn't caught up. Your brain is still operating from the old reality, the old fear, the old scarcity. And until you consciously shift out of survival mode, you'll stay stuck. You'll keep making fear-based decisions. You'll keep sabotaging your own growth because survival mode doesn't build wealth. It just keeps you alive. But you don't want to just survive. You want to thrive. And thriving requires a different operating system. Not survival, but abundance. This audiobook is about that journey, from survival to safety to abundance, from fear-based decisions to aligned decisions, from scarcity to sufficiency to overflow. Because leaving survival mode is not just a mental shift, it's a nervous system shift. It's a rewiring of how you perceive safety, risk, and resources. And this shift, this is the foundation of everything else, because you can learn all the strategies, you can build all the systems, you can have all the knowledge. But if you're operating from survival mode, none of it will work sustainably, because survival mode will sabotage you. It will keep you small, it will keep you scared, it will keep you trapped. But when you leave survival mode, when you shift into abundance, everything changes. You make better decisions. You take calculated risks. You build strategically. You create from overflow. And that's when real wealth is built. So let's explore this journey. From survival to safety to abundance. From fear to trust. From scarcity to overflow. Because you're ready to leave survival mode and step into abundance. Welcome to Mindset Shift Audiobooks, a place for becoming. Here you'll find the structure to build more abundance, more success, more life lived on your terms. If this resonates, subscribe for daily content. Let's begin. Chapter 1. What survival mode actually is. Let's start by understanding what survival mode is, because most people are in it without realizing it. What survival mode is. Survival mode is a state where your nervous system perceives constant threat, where your brain is scanning for danger, where every decision is filtered through, is this safe? It's not a conscious choice. It's a physiological state. Your body is in fight or flight. Your cortisol is elevated. Your nervous system is dysregulated. And in this state, your brain prioritizes immediate survival over long-term thriving. Signs you're in survival mode. 1. You're constantly anxious. There's a baseline anxiety that never fully goes away. Even when things are going well, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You can't fully relax because relaxation feels dangerous. 2. You can't rest. Rest feels like falling behind, like you're wasting time, like you're putting yourself at risk. So you push, you work, you stay busy because stopping feels unsafe. 3. You make fear-based decisions. You say yes to things you don't want because you're afraid to say no. You stay in situations that don't serve you because leaving feels too risky. You undercharge because you're afraid of losing the client. Every decision is driven by fear, not alignment. 4. You're hypervigilant. You're constantly scanning for threats, for problems, for what could go wrong. You can't be present because you're always anticipating danger. 5. You hoard resources. You can't spend money even when you have it, because what if you need it later? You can't share knowledge, because what if someone takes your clients? You can't celebrate wins, because what if it doesn't last? Hoarding is a survival response, and it keeps you in scarcity. 6. You're reactive. You're not making strategic decisions. You're reacting to whatever shows up. A client inquires? You say yes. Even if they're not aligned. An opportunity appears? You take it. Even if it's not strategic. You're in reactive mode, not strategic mode. 7. You can't think long term. All your focus is on the immediate, on getting through today, this week, this month. You can't plan for the future because the future feels too uncertain. 8. You overwork. You work more hours than necessary, not because the work requires it, but because stopping feels dangerous. You equate busyness with safety. If you're working, you're protecting yourself. 9. You compare constantly. You're constantly measuring yourself against others. Are you ahead? Behind? Safe? Comparison is a survival mechanism. It's your brain trying to assess relative safety. 10. You can't celebrate. When something good happens, you can't fully enjoy it because you're already anticipating what could go wrong. You minimize wins. You downplay success because celebration feels dangerous. Why you're in survival mode. Survival mode is often a response to past scarcity, past trauma, past instability. Maybe you grew up with financial instability. Maybe you experienced loss. Maybe safety was never guaranteed, and your nervous system learned, the world is not safe. I have to be vigilant. I have to protect myself. And that response? It was adaptive. It kept you safe when safety was uncertain. But now, even though circumstances have changed, your nervous system is still operating from that old reality. The problem with staying in survival mode keeps you stuck. Because survival mode doesn't build wealth, it just keeps you alive. Survival mode makes you reactive, short-sighted, fear-based, and you can't build sustainable success from fear. You can't think strategically when you're in fight or flight. You can't take calculated risks when you're hyper-vigilant. You can't invest when you're hoarding. You can't rest when rest feels dangerous. Survival mode is a trap, and until you leave it, you'll stay stuck. Chapter 2. The difference between survival and abundance. Let's contrast survival mode with abundance, because understanding the difference is critical. Survival mode says, there's not enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough clients, not enough resources. And because there's not enough, you have to hoard, protect, compete. I'm not safe. The world is dangerous. People will take advantage. I have to be vigilant. And because you're not safe, you can't rest. You can't trust. You can't relax. I have to do it all myself. I can't delegate. I can't ask for help. I can't trust anyone. Because if I don't do it myself, it won't get done. And that's dangerous. I have to say yes. I can't turn down opportunities. I can't turn down clients. I can't say no. Because what if nothing else comes? What if this is my only chance? I have to work harder. If I'm not working, I'm falling behind. If I rest, I'm at risk. So I push, I hustle, I sacrifice. I can't spend money. What if I need it later? What if I run out? What if something goes wrong? So I hoard, I deprive, I stay small. Abundance mode says, there's enough, not infinite, but enough. Enough money, enough time, enough clients, enough resources. And because there's enough, you can share, you can invest, you can collaborate. I'm safe, not perfectly safe, but safe enough to rest, safe enough to take calculated risks, safe enough to trust. And because you're safe, you can be strategic, you can be present, you can relax. I can ask for support, I can delegate, I can hire, I can collaborate, because I don't have to do it all myself. And asking for help is strength, not weakness. I can say no. I can turn down opportunities that don't align. I can turn down clients who aren't right, because I trust that the right opportunities will come. I can work strategically. I don't have to work harder. I can work smarter. I can rest. I can think. I can be strategic. I can invest. I can spend money on things that create leverage, on tools, on support, on growth, because I trust that investment creates returns. The key differences: survival operates from fear. Abundance operates from trust. Survival says, what if it goes wrong? Abundance says, what if it goes right? Survival is reactive. Abundance is proactive. Survival responds to threats. Abundance creates strategy. Survival hoards. Abundance invests. Survival protects resources. Abundance deploys resources strategically. Survival is short-term. Abundance is long-term. Survival thinks in days and weeks. Abundance thinks in years and decades. Survival is scarcity-based. Abundance is sufficiency-based. Survival says, there's not enough. Abundance says, there's enough. Survival is isolated. Abundance is collaborative. Survival says, I'm alone in this. Abundance says, I can build with others. The shift from survival to abundance is not about ignoring reality. It's not toxic positivity. It's about recognizing that you're no longer in the situation that created survival mode. You're safe now, or safe enough. And operating from that safety allows you to build strategically, to think long-term, to create from overflow. That's the shift, and it changes everything. Chapter 3: Why You Can't Build Wealth from Survival Mode. Let's talk about why survival mode prevents wealth building, because this is critical to understand. Reason 1: Survival mode is short-term. When you're in survival mode, you're thinking in days, maybe weeks. How do I get through today? How do I make rent this month? But wealth is built long-term, through compound, through strategy, through sustained effort over years. And you can't think long-term when you're in survival mode, because survival mode prioritizes immediate needs over future growth. Reason 2: Survival mode is reactive. When you're in survival mode, you're reacting to whatever shows up, to whatever opportunity appears. You're not making strategic decisions. You're just trying to stay afloat. But wealth is built proactively, through strategy, through intentional choices, through calculated risks. and you can't be strategic when you're reactive. Reason 3. Survival mode prevents investment. When you're in survival mode, you hoard money. You can't spend, you can't invest. Because what if you need it later? What if something goes wrong? But wealth is built through investment. Investing in tools, in support, in education, in leverage. And if you can't invest, you can't build leverage. And without leverage, you're trading time for money, which caps your income. Reason 4. Survival mode prevents calculated risk. Wealth requires calculated risk. Investing in your business, launching a new offer, hiring before you think you're ready. But when you're in survival mode, all risk feels too dangerous, so you play it safe. And playing it safe keeps you stuck, because growth requires risk. Reason 5. Survival mode prevents rest. Rest is essential for strategic thinking, for creativity, for making good decisions. But when you're in survival mode, rest feels dangerous. So you push, you work constantly, and that exhaustion, that impairs decision-making, that prevents strategic thinking. So you're working hard but not working smart. And working hard without strategy doesn't build wealth. Reason 6. Survival mode prevents delegation. Wealth is built through leverage, and leverage often requires delegation. But when you're in survival mode, you can't delegate. You don't trust anyone. You have to do it all yourself, and doing it all yourself caps your growth, because there's only so much you can do. Reason 7. Survival mode prevents collaboration. Wealth is often built through collaboration, through partnerships, through community. But when you're in survival mode, you see everyone as competition. You hoard knowledge, you isolate, and that isolation limits opportunities, limits learning, limits growth. Reason 8. Survival mode creates self-sabotage. When you're in survival mode, success feels dangerous, because success means visibility, and visibility feels like a threat. So you self-sabotage. You don't follow through. You keep yourself small, because small feels safe, even if it's not serving you. Reason 9. Survival mode prevents pricing appropriately. When you're in survival mode, you undercharge, because you're afraid people won't pay more. You're afraid of losing clients. But undercharging keeps you overworked and underpaid. It prevents you from building wealth, and until you can charge what you're worth, you'll stay stuck. Reason 10. Survival mode is exhausting. Survival mode requires constant vigilance, constant anxiety, constant activation, and that's depleting. You burn out, you make poor decisions, you can't sustain. But wealth is built through sustained effort. And sustained effort requires energy, and energy requires safety. The truth, you can't build wealth from survival mode, because survival mode is designed to keep you alive, not help you thrive. Survival mode served you once, but it's not serving you anymore. And until you leave survival mode, you'll stay stuck, reactive, short-sighted, exhausted. But when you leave survival mode, when you shift into abundance, wealth becomes possible, because abundance allows strategy, investment, risk, rest, delegation, collaboration, and those things, those are what build wealth. Chapter 4. The Journey from Survival to Safety. So how do you leave survival mode? How do you shift from survival to safety? It starts with creating evidence that you're safe, because your nervous system needs proof. Step 1. Acknowledge that you're in survival mode. You can't change what you don't acknowledge, so acknowledge it. I'm operating from survival mode. My decisions are fear-based. My nervous system is in constant activation. This acknowledgement is the first step. Step 2. Identify the old threat. What created survival mode for you? What past experience taught your nervous system that the world is not safe? Financial instability in childhood, trauma, loss, instability, name it. Because understanding the origin helps you see that the old threat is no longer present. Step 3. Assess your current reality. Are you actually in danger now? Or is your nervous system reacting to an old reality? Get objective. Look at the facts. Do you have money in the bank? Do you have income? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food? If yes, you're safe. Not perfectly safe, but safe enough. Step 4. Create evidence of safety. Your nervous system needs proof, so create it. Build an emergency fund, even if it's small, $500, $1,000, something. This tells your nervous system, I have a buffer, I'm not in immediate danger. Step 5. Practice rest without consequence. Rest for one day, and notice, nothing terrible happens. You rest, and the world doesn't collapse. Your business doesn't fail. You're still safe. This builds evidence that rest is not dangerous. Step 6. Make one non-survival based decision. Say no to a client who's not aligned, even though you need the money. And notice, you survive. Another opportunity comes, you're still safe. This builds evidence that you don't have to say yes to everything to survive. Step 7. Invest in something. Spend money on a tool, on support, on education. And notice, you're still safe. The investment doesn't deplete you, it creates leverage. This builds evidence that investment is not dangerous. Step 8. Delegate one task. Hire someone for one small task. Admin, content creation, whatever, and notice, they do it well. You're still in control, and you have more time. This builds evidence that delegation is not dangerous. Step 9. Celebrate one win. When something good happens, let yourself celebrate. Fully. Don't minimize. Don't anticipate what could go wrong. Just celebrate. This builds evidence that joy is not dangerous. Step 10. Practice being present. Spend 5 minutes being fully present, not scanning for threats, not anticipating problems, just present. And notice, you're safe, right now, in this moment. This builds evidence that presence is safe. The shift. These practices build evidence, and evidence rewires the nervous system. Slowly, over time, your nervous system starts to learn, I'm safe. I don't have to be hypervigilant. I can rest. I can invest. I can make strategic decisions. And that shift, that's leaving survival mode and stepping into safety. Chapter 5. The Journey from Safety to Abundance. Once you're in safety, the next shift is from safety to abundance. Because safety is not the final destination. Safety is the foundation. But abundance is the expansion. What abundance actually is. Abundance is not infinite resources. It's not everything is always available. Abundance is sufficiency. It's there's enough. Enough money. Enough time. Enough clients. Enough opportunities. And from that sufficiency, you can create overflow. You can share, you can invest, you can build. The shift from safety to abundance. Safety says, I'm okay, I'm not in danger. Abundance says, I'm more than okay, I have enough, and I can create more. Safety is protective. Abundance is generative. Safety is I can rest. Abundance is I can create from overflow. Safety is I don't have to say yes to everything. Abundance is I can choose what aligns. Safety is maintenance. Abundance is expansion. How to shift from safety to abundance. Practice 1. Shift from hoarding to investing. When you're in safety, you stop hoarding out of fear, but you're still cautious. In abundance, you invest strategically. You deploy resources to create leverage, not recklessly, strategically. This shift from hoarding to investing is the shift from safety to abundance. Practice 2. Shift from scarcity to sufficiency. Safety says, I'm not in danger. Sufficiency says, I have enough. And from sufficiency, you can relax. You can stop scanning for threats. You can trust that resources are available. Practice saying, I have enough, and let yourself feel it. Practice 3. Shift from protection to creation. Safety is about protection, protecting yourself, protecting resources, protecting energy, but abundance is about creation, creating value, creating impact, creating wealth. So shift your focus from protecting to creating. Practice 4. Shift from fear to trust. Safety reduces fear, but it doesn't eliminate it. Abundance is built on trust. Trust that opportunities will come. Trust that resources are available. Trust that you can handle what comes. Practice trust. Make decisions from trust, not fear. Practice 5. Shift from isolation to collaboration. Safety allows you to stop seeing everyone as a threat. Abundance allows you to collaborate, to share, to build with others. So reach out, collaborate, build community. Practice 6. Shift from surviving to thriving. Safety means you're no longer just surviving, you're stable. Abundance means you're thriving, you're growing, you're creating overflow. So ask yourself, what does thriving look like for me? And build that. Practice 7. Shift from enough to overflow. Sufficiency says, I have enough. Overflow says, I have more than enough, and I can share. Overflow allows generosity, allows giving, allows creating impact beyond yourself. So build overflow, not just for yourself, but to share. What abundance creates? When you operate from abundance, you make strategic decisions, you invest in leverage, you take calculated risks, you collaborate, you create from overflow, you share generously, you build sustainably, and that's how wealth is built, not from survival, not even just from safety, but from abundance. Chapter 6. Rewiring your nervous system for abundance. Here's the truth. Leaving survival mode is not just a mental shift, it's a nervous system shift. Your thoughts can say, I'm safe. But if your nervous system doesn't believe it, you'll stay in survival mode. So let's talk about rewiring the nervous system. Why the nervous system matters. Your nervous system is what determines whether you feel safe or threatened, whether you're in fight or flight or rest and digest. And when your nervous system perceives threat, it overrides logic, it overrides strategy. It just tries to keep you alive so you can have all the knowledge, all the strategies, all the tools. But if your nervous system is dysregulated, you'll still make fear-based decisions. This is why rewiring the nervous system is critical. How to rewire the nervous system. Practice. 1. Somatic practices. Your nervous system communicates through the body. So body-based practices are essential. Deep breathing activates parasympathetic nervous system. Progressive muscle relaxation releases stored tension. Gentle movement, yoga, walking, stretching. Body scans increases body awareness. These practices signal to your nervous system, we're safe, we can relax. Practice 2. Co-regulation. Your nervous system regulates through connection with regulated nervous systems. So spend time with calm, grounded people. Their regulation helps regulate you. And avoid spending too much time with dysregulated people. Their activation will activate you. Practice 3. Titration. Don't try to rewire everything at once. that overwhelms the nervous system. Instead, titrate. Take small steps. Build evidence gradually. One safe decision, then another, then another. Small, consistent evidence builds safety more effectively than big, overwhelming changes. Practice 4. Pendulation. This is the practice of moving between activation and calm. When you feel activated, anxious, stressed, hypervigilant, don't just push through. Pendulate. Notice the activation, then consciously shift to calm through breath, through movement, through grounding. This teaches your nervous system, I can move from activation to calm. I'm not stuck. Practice 5. Grounding. Grounding practices anchor you in the present moment, and the present moment is usually safe. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice 5 things you can see. Place your hand on your heart. Feel the texture of something in your hands. These practices pull you out of the future, where anxiety lives, and into the present, where safety exists. Practice 6. Safe place visualization. Your nervous system responds to visualization as if it's real, so visualize a safe place, somewhere you feel completely safe, real or imagined. Spend time there mentally, notice the details, feel the safety. This builds neural pathways of safety. Practice 7. Affirmations that calm the nervous system. Not toxic positivity, but affirmations that speak to safety. I am safe right now. I have enough. I can handle what comes. I am resourced. Say them, feel them, let your nervous system receive them. Practice 8. Celebrate safety evidence. Every time you do something and survive, acknowledge it. I rested and nothing terrible happened. I said no, and I'm still safe. I invested, and I'm still resourced. This reinforces the neural pathways of safety. Practice 9. Limit activation inputs. Your nervous system is influenced by what you consume. Constant news, activating. Comparison scrolling, activating. Chaotic environments, activating. Limit these inputs. Protect your nervous system. Practice 10. Work with a professional. If your nervous system is deeply dysregulated from trauma, chronic stress, or prolonged survival mode, work with a somatic therapist. They can guide you through nervous system regulation in ways that reading can't. The timeline. Rewiring the nervous system takes time, not days, months, sometimes years. But every practice you do creates change, slowly, subtly, cumulatively. And over time, your nervous system learns, I'm safe, I can relax, I can operate from abundance. And that's when everything shifts. Chapter 7. Decision-making from abundance versus survival. Let's get practical. How do decisions differ when made from survival versus abundance? Survival-based decisions. Scenario. A client inquires. Survival response. I need the money, I have to say yes. Even if they're not aligned, even if they're difficult, I can't afford to say no. Outcome. You take on a draining client. You resent the work. You're exhausted, and the money doesn't feel worth it. Abundance response. Is this aligned? Do I have capacity? Is this the right client for me? If not, I can say no. The right client will come. Outcome. You only work with aligned clients. You enjoy the work. You have energy, and the money feels good. Scenario. An opportunity appears. Survival response. This might be my only chance. I have to take it. Even if the timing isn't right, even if I'm not ready, what if nothing else comes? Outcome. You overextend, you're not prepared, the opportunity doesn't go well, and you're depleted. Abundance response. Is this the right opportunity? Is the timing right? Am I prepared? If not, I can pass. Other opportunities will come. Outcome, you're selective. You take opportunities when you're ready. They go well. And more opportunities follow. Scenario, pricing your offer. Survival response, I need to charge low so people will buy. If I charge more, I'll lose clients. I can't risk that. Outcome, you're overworked and underpaid. You resent the work. You can't build wealth. Abundance response, I'm pricing based on value. The right people will pay. Those who can't aren't my people, and that's okay. Outcome, you're paid well for your work. You have fewer clients but more revenue. You enjoy the work. Scenario, investing in your business. Survival response, I can't spend money. What if I need it later? What if the investment doesn't pay off? It's too risky. Outcome, you don't invest. You don't build leverage. You stay stuck doing everything manually. Abundance response, this investment will create leverage. I trust it will create returns. I can afford this. Outcome, you invest. You build leverage. You free your time, and the investment pays off. Scenario, taking a day off. Survival response, I can't rest. If I stop working, I'll fall behind. I'll lose momentum. It's too dangerous. Outcome, you're exhausted. You make poor decisions. You burn out. Abundance response, rest is strategic. I'll work better after rest. Taking today off will improve my performance tomorrow. Outcome, you rest. You return energized. You work better, and your results improve. Scenario, hiring support. Survival response, I can't afford to hire. I have to do it all myself. What if they don't do it right? I can't trust anyone. Outcome, you're overwhelmed. You're the bottleneck. You can't scale. Abundance response, hiring will free my time. I can train them. This investment will allow me to focus on high-value work. Outcome, you hire, you delegate, you scale, and your business grows. The pattern, survival-based decisions are fear-driven, short-term, reactive. Abundance-based decisions are trust-driven, long-term, strategic. And the outcomes, completely different. How to shift your decision-making. When facing a decision, ask, am I making this decision from fear or from trust? Am I thinking short-term or long-term? Am I reacting or strategizing? If it's fear, short-term, reactive, that's survival mode. Pause, breathe, ask, what would the abundance version of me decide? And make that decision instead. Chapter 8. Building Evidence of Abundance. Your nervous system needs evidence that abundance is real, that there's enough, that you're safe. So let's build that evidence. Evidence 1. Financial buffer. Build an emergency fund, even if it's small. $500, $1,000, $3,000. Whatever feels achievable. This buffer tells your nervous system, I have a cushion, I'm not in immediate danger. And that safety, that allows you to make better decisions. Evidence 2. Consistent income. Whether from a job or a business, create consistent income. Consistency signals safety. Inconsistency triggers survival mode. So build systems that create consistent revenue. Recurring clients, subscription offers, predictable income streams. Evidence 3. Investment returns. Invest in something, a tool, a course, support, and notice the return, the time saved, the knowledge gained, the leverage created. This builds evidence that investment creates value. Evidence 4. Rest without consequence. Rest for a day, a weekend, a week, and notice the world doesn't collapse, your business doesn't fail, you're still safe. This builds evidence that rest is safe. Evidence 5. Saying no without loss. Say no to something, a client, an opportunity, a request, and notice you survive. Another opportunity comes. you're still okay. This builds evidence that you don't have to say yes to everything. Evidence 6, delegation success. Delegate one task and notice it gets done. Maybe not perfectly, but well enough. This builds evidence that you don't have to do everything yourself. Evidence 7, collaboration wins. Collaborate with someone on a project, a partnership, a joint effort, and notice it creates more value than working alone. You're not in competition, you're in collaboration. This builds evidence that abundance is collaborative, not competitive. Evidence 8, generosity without depletion. Give something, money, time, knowledge, and notice you're not depleted, you still have enough. In fact, giving creates overflow. This builds evidence that there's enough to share. Evidence 9, recovery from setbacks. Something goes wrong, a client leaves, a launch flops, a mistake happens, and notice you recover, you adapt, you're resilient. This builds evidence that you can handle challenges, that setbacks aren't catastrophic. Evidence 10, wins that come without struggle. Something good happens without you forcing it, without exhausting yourself. A client finds you organically, an opportunity appears, something flows, and notice, good things can happen without suffering. This builds evidence that success doesn't require struggle. How to track evidence. Keep an evidence journal. Every day, write down one piece of evidence. I rested today, nothing terrible happened. I invested in this tool, it saved me 3 hours. I said no to that client, a better one came. And over time, the evidence accumulates and your nervous system learns, abundance is real, there's enough, I'm safe. And that learning, that rewires you. Chapter 9, Sustaining Abundance, Long Term. Leaving survival mode is one thing. Staying in abundance is another, because stress will happen, challenges will come, and when they do, survival mode will try to reactivate. So, let's talk about sustaining abundance long term. What reactivates survival mode? 1. Financial stress, a slow month, an unexpected expense, a lost client, and suddenly, the old fear kicks in. I'm not safe. I need to say yes to everything. I can't invest. I have to hoard. 2. Comparison. You see someone further ahead, and the scarcity voice says, they're taking what could be yours. There's not enough for both of you. 3. Criticism or rejection. Someone criticizes your work. A client leaves, a launch flops, and survival mode says, see, you're not safe. You can't trust this. 4. Big decisions, a big investment, a big launch, a big risk, and survival mode says, this is too dangerous, play it safe. 5. Change or uncertainty. The market shifts, the algorithm changes, something unexpected happens, and survival mode says, I can't handle this. I need to control everything. How to stay in abundance when survival mode reactivates. 1. Recognize the activation. When survival mode kicks in, notice it. I'm feeling activated. My nervous system is perceiving threat, but I'm actually safe. This awareness creates space between the activation and your response. 2. Ground yourself. Use grounding practices. Breathe, feel your feet, come back to the present moment, because the present moment is usually safe. The activation is about the future. 3. Look at the evidence. Pull out your evidence journal. Review the proof. I've survived every challenge before this. I have a financial buffer. Opportunities have always come. Evidence calms the nervous system. 4. Make decisions from abundance, not survival. When activated, you'll want to make fear-based decisions. Resist. Ask, what would abundance do here? And make that decision instead. 5. Reach out for support. Don't isolate. Isolation activates survival mode. Reach out to a friend, a mentor, a therapist, someone who can remind you you're safe. 6. Practice self-compassion. Don't shame yourself for feeling activated. Activation is normal. Just acknowledge it. I'm feeling scared, and that's okay. I can still make a strategic decision. 7. Recommit to abundance. When survival mode reactivates, recommit. I'm choosing abundance. I'm choosing trust. I'm choosing long-term thinking. And then act from that commitment. The practice. Sustaining abundance is a practice, not a one-time achievement. Every day you choose abundance over survival, trust over fear, long-term over short-term. And over time, abundance becomes your default, not survival. But it requires commitment, consistency, and compassion for yourself when you slip. Because you will slip, and that's okay. Just recommit and keep building. Conclusion. Leaving survival mode is the most important shift you'll make, because everything else, your decisions, your growth, your wealth, depends on it. You can have all the strategies, all the knowledge, all the tools, but if you're operating from survival mode, none of it will work sustainably, because survival mode is fear-based, reactive, short-term, and wealth is built from abundance, trust, long-term thinking. So if you're in survival mode, and most people are, know this: it's not your fault. You learned survival mode because you had to. It kept you safe when safety was uncertain. But you're safe now, or safe enough, and operating from that safety, from abundance, is what creates the life you want. So leave survival mode, step into safety, expand into abundance, build evidence that you're safe, that there's enough, that you can trust. Rewire your nervous system through somatic practices, through evidence, through repetition. Make decisions from abundance, not fear, not scarcity, abundance, and sustain it through practice, through commitment, through compassion. Because abundance is not a destination, it's a way of being, a way of operating, a way of moving through the world. And when you operate from abundance, you make better decisions, you build sustainable wealth, you create from overflow, you enjoy the journey, you're at peace. This is what's possible when you leave survival mode and step into abundance. So take the first step today. Build one piece of evidence, make one abundance-based decision, practice one grounding technique, and then do it again tomorrow and the next day. And over time, survival mode will fade and abundance will become your reality, not because everything is perfect, but because you're operating from trust, from safety, from enough, and from that foundation, you can build anything. So leave survival mode. You don't need it anymore. Step into abundance and watch your life transform. Thank you for listening, and if this resonated, subscribe for more audiobooks on money, identity, and building a life that belongs to you. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.